Hey guys, it's Steve Halleck of TickTocking. I'm coming at you with another podcast. This one's also going to be available on any of your podcast apps, but it seems like probably people have a little bit more time to be on YouTube nowadays. So I'm recording this on Tuesday. This whole situation is still unfolding, but I've had a decent amount of emails and texts and stuff come in wondering kind of what my take on the overall market is and kind of my strategy looking at this whole thing. And so I thought I would address that via a podcast. Before I get into that, I'm having a little bit of trouble motivating recently to actually make videos, and even if you follow me on Instagram at Steve Halleck, you'll see I've been posting a little bit less. On one hand, it seems like a little bit off the general topic of the world to be creating content and posting about watches. On the other hand, it's kind of the best time ever to have a little bit of a distraction in something. So I'm sitting on the fence a little bit on this one, but I thought maybe you guys could help me. And so I thought we could play a little bit of a game or do something. Part of the problem with this medium is it takes a little bit of effort for me to kind of figure out what to say, set everything up, do it, and then I kind of put it out there, and I get a little bit of feedback, but it's usually a couple people write me and say that they enjoyed it, and a few people comment this, that, and the other, but it's not always such a full acknowledgement that it really makes me jazzed to do the next one. So I thought, if you want to play this game and you're bored anyway, go find a video of mine that you haven't seen, a review video, hopefully not this video, which is going to be a little bit depressing, but a little bit more fun review video of a really cool watch, either one that you have or one that you want or just a video that you like, and put a post on a story or a post on Instagram of you, a wrist shot of you watching my video, and I'll repost it on my feed. So make sure you tag me in it so that I can actually see it at Steve Halleck, and I'll put it on my feed, and we can see who watches these things and what we're all wearing while we're in our pajamas at home these days. Okay, cool. So COVID-19 going on, really kind of going to be very interesting from a global economics point of view, like what happens when you just stop the global economy overnight. I think most people watching my channel are certainly wealthier than most. I don't think everybody who watches my channel is like a Grubel 4C buyer or an oligarch or something, but just to be into watches at all, even if you're into low-end watches, and this is a little bit more aspirational stuff, you have to have a little bit more free income than most people, and so it's really a time to just be thankful. If you are in a position where you can sort of reasonably get through this without anticipating a huge shift in your lifestyle. And my thoughts really go out to those who aren't in that position and are a little bit more dependent on next week or next month's paycheck. That's a scary place to be. So with that in mind, my thoughts on the market. Now, I'm not an economist, I'm not a virologist, I'm not anything, I'm a watch dealer, right? I do have a background in finance, and I'm a little bit of a smart guy. But take it all with a grain of salt. Also, it's really early on in this thing, right? It could go in a lot of different directions, and hopefully it goes in the best of them. First question I'm getting is, do I think there will be major price shifts in the market? And my gut on that is that some yes and some no. So if you're looking at the stuff that was really hot and was just on a crazy tear, namely things like Nautilus or any of these things that you had a lot of dealers playing in the area, I definitely expect to see some market correction there. And the mechanism that I think will facilitate that is that you have a lot of people who have come in and are using watches as a liquid asset part of their portfolio, some sort of financial instrument, basically, whether it be their full-time business or a part-time business. I don't think that that is going to be very sustainable in the next several months. And a lot of the inventory of these sorts of pieces are in the hands of these kinds of guys, right? So I'm a watch dealer. That's something to keep in mind in any of the videos that I tell you, both positive and negatively. My business is to sell watches. That's how I put food on my table. But I have a pretty specific niche, and I've been in this area for 15 to 17 years, and I feel pretty comfortable that no matter what the outcome of the world, unless it's the absolute worst post-apocalyptic, like nothing's left version, any other version, people are going to want and appreciate really spectacular horology. I feel like I add value to the market, and I'm really here to educate and get people interested in this area where I provide some liquidity, and so I have those kind of functions in the market. Now, there's a lot of people in these other parts of the market that don't really provide a lot of value add. They have the same inventory that everybody else does. The market is providing liquidity to them rather than the other way around. And I don't know that they are capitalized well enough to kind of ride out. Some of them are, and I'm sure some of them aren't. And it only takes a decent amount of people who are not to bring the prices down on those sorts of things. So, imagine all of these dealers with 5711s in their safes. At some point, people are going to get antsy. They're going to want to sell them. They're going to have to drop their prices from $65,000 to $60,000 to $55,000 to $50,000. Where does it end? I'm not sure. I don't think it goes to cataclysmic levels. In fact, you probably will never see a 5711 for the price that you could have gotten one for even 3 years ago. There's just that much more demand. There's still liquidity out there, and I don't think that a really good watch that people now know of and whatever is going to get hit that hard. But relative to where it was a month ago, or certainly 4 months ago, I think you're going to start seeing that stuff pull back a little bit. Now, liquidity is going to definitely come out of the market to some extent, and that'll get me into kind of my next stuff of sort of what I recommend you do or what I'm doing. But let me focus on my little area. I don't think that you're going to see a huge shift in the prices of independent watches or the lower volume, kind of more artisanal type of stuff. You'll see something, but the decline certainly won't be as much as the stock market, I don't think. And the reason for that is that there are very few dealers who buy these things in the first place. And we are all, in order to get into this area at all, you kind of have to be prepared for the fact that these are not super liquid. And so if they become a little bit less liquid, then it doesn't necessarily, there's not going to be a big rush to dump any of this stuff at any point. Now, maybe there will be a little bit more on the market. Maybe there will be private customers that need to move watches to generate liquidity and those sorts of things. But they'll probably end up in the stock of dealers' hands. And I think that the people who play in this sandbox are pretty well capitalized and pretty responsible to the market as a whole. So if you're hoping to pick up a DB28 at a bargain basement price or a Grubel 4C Technique or something, I think that is unlikely to happen. Now, where does that leave me? Where does that leave you? This is where our paths diverge a little bit. For anybody, I think it's going to be really important to have some liquidity. Now, this is just basic, like, financial sense, right? You should always have, some people say 6 months, some people say a year, some people say 18 months of expenses in the bank. And this is exactly why. Like, these sorts of things are exactly why, on a global scale, or if it happens to you personally or whatever, right now it's happening to everybody, and you've got to have cash in the bank. So to say like, yeah, absolutely, perfect time to pull your only 50 grand out of the bank and buy a watch off my website, that would be completely insane, right? So I think you want to have cash in the bank. You want to have probably more cash in the bank than you necessarily wanted in the first place. And so I would recommend that if you are in a position where buying a watch is the difference between you being pretty damn comfortable in this sort of thing and not being so, then absolutely don't do it. And this is, I'm a watch dealer. Like, I want you to buy watches, but not at the expense of your own long-term health and sanity. So don't do it, right? Now, the flip side of that is a lot of people are in the position that people should have been in all along, which is that they have savings, they have other parts of their portfolio, they have, real estate, they have whatever they have, and the purchase of a watch does not like greatly impact their financial picture. And for people in that situation, I don't think it's so crazy, right? For two reasons. Number one, I think that we're going to find that watches and other sort of stores of value like this are actually a little bit less volatile than the global markets, especially, good time for a wrist check. If you can see it here, this is the Kari Voutilainen Masterpiece chronograph that I have on my site, and I'm going to be putting out a review video soon on this guy. Stuff like this is like tip-top, artisanal, like it doesn't get any better. There's a handful of them that have ever existed and will ever exist. I think that it is a fairly reasonable place to store money at this point if it's not money that you're going to need in the near future. And I'm sure you guys are having this experience, but I am really enjoying owning some nice watches at this point in the world. As silly as it seems, and as trivial, and as much as there's so many more important things happening in the world, being able to strap on a nice watch and look at it and gain the pleasure out of it and have this whole watch community where we don't have to talk about all this stuff. We have this other shared thing has really been a fantastic savior for me. And so I actually think that the enjoyment value that you will get out of your watches is actually kind of higher right now than it normally is. So anyway, not a sales pitch. Buy them or don't buy them. Certainly a nice time to support your local dealer, and there are some nice watches, but don't do anything irresponsible. For me, I'm in a little bit of a different situation, right? Because this is my business. I buy for a business, and so liquidity does matter, and little bits here and there. And so I've decided to mainly sit on the sidelines for at least a week or 10 days or something like that. I'm not like in a super rush to, oh my God, I can buy this for a little bit less than the day before, and then blah, blah, blah. I want to see how this thing plays out. This is the bulk of my own personal net worth is usually in my inventory, and so it's important for me to be prudent with these things. And unfortunately, I wish I were in the place where I could just buy things to enjoy them. But I can't always do that, or I'd be in big trouble. So anyway, this is as candid as I can be. This is all of my thoughts. This is what I think. If you have any comments or thoughts, I'm interested to hear what you're thinking. But, stay rational, stay smart, don't put yourself in jeopardy, make sure that you're set up, and then if you can have some fun while we're all sitting at home bored anyway, then why not, right? Man, I hope we can move on to some more happy and uplifting times soon. In the meantime, let's play this game as I described earlier. post a wrist shot of you watching one of my review videos in your Instagram stories or your body, but it's probably even better in stories. I don't know. I don't really know the difference. I'm too old to get these sorts of things. But anyway, yeah, wrist shot of you watching a video while you're self-quarantined or whatever we're calling it, social distancing, and I'll repost it on Instagram, and we'll see if we can start a little TickTocking watch party here. Stay safe, be smart, be responsible, better safe than sorry, especially over the next week or two, and I'm wishing everybody the best, and thank you for tuning in.